Yes, so it is recording. Great. So, what made you want to start your own real estate business?
Probably like many other real estate investors, I was inspired by Rich Dad Poor Dad that I read in the early 2000s, like 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that turned my head to the possibility of just living a financial life a different way. Instead of trading hours for dollars, building assets to pay me.
Great. And how did you get started?
I was a traveling sales rep after I graduated from Virginia Tech. Go Hokies! I got a job working for a company called Ingersoll Rand, and I was a traveling sales rep for them. Met my girlfriend, now wife, who got me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I had a reasonably sized commission check from a company from Minute Maid Orange Juice. I sold Minute Maid this enormous air compressor set to go in their facility in New Jersey, which by the way is now closed. They closed the plant not too long after I sold them the equipment. That's not my fault, you know. And I had a commission check from that sale that was burning a hole in my pocket, and I'd read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, I need a place to live because my lease is ending. And so instead of finding another place to live, I went and bought a house. And my two roommates were living in my rental with me. I'm like, well, where are we going to go? And I said, well, you're going to come with me, and you guys are going to move in this house with me. So they both started renting rooms in the house from me at $500 per person per month. And that more than exceeded my mortgage payment. So I was then working a full-time day job in my mid-20s, and had no living expenses. And so it was a very, very good arrangement. And so that just turned my head to the possibility of real estate. And so then my girlfriend, now wife, and I started buying rental properties around Philadelphia where I lived at the time. And off we went from there.
Great. So when you first started in the real estate game, how dedicated were you to it versus your full-time day job?
Well, I didn't like my job. So it very quickly became something that I gravitated towards, like with a lot of affinity, because it was a lot of fun. I was learning a lot more there than I was at the day job. And I very quickly gravitated to passion for business mostly, and the real estate business being the vehicle that it was, but it was really entrepreneurship and business that spoke to me more than anything.
Gotcha. Great. And once it became your full-time job, how many hours did you dedicate to it?
I quit my job in 2005 when Liz and I got married, that we decided to live off of her income. And so once I quit my job, I was at least 50 hours a week.
Great. And while you were getting started, were you mentored or helped by anyone?
I've always sought mentorship from people that know more than I do, and I think that's one of the keys to success is find people that know more than you do about a specific topic. They don't have to be gurus that claim to know more than you do about everything. I would be cautious of anybody that claims that. But somebody that knows more than I do about a specific topic, when I do surround myself by people like that, I do very well. When I try and figure it out on my own, I never do. So in my career of 15 years as a full-time investor, the successes that I've had, I can point to mentorship.
Great. And when you first got started, did you think that this was going to be your income for the next, couple decades?
I thought it was going to come a lot sooner, but yes. I thought I was going to quit my job in 2005 and be at just be sipping Mai Tais on the beach and be at millionaire retired status within 2 years. I think that is still the thought process of many people in this business, but I thought I was going to get there faster. I've been 15 years in and I've achieved a ton of success, but it's been more of a marathon than the sprint that I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So were you ever helped by technology in any way?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I think that part of the role of the entrepreneur is we live in a world that technology is constantly making things more efficient, or it's attempting to make things more efficient and easier, right? And just making ourselves more accessible too through technology, right? So I think that as an entrepreneur, it's my job to pursue that. It's part of my job is to pursue that, to find a way to make my people's lives easier, or make my life easier, or make myself more available, make myself more accessible, whether that's through taking my cell phone and shooting a video that then goes on YouTube and goes viral, or using tech like phone apps and things like that to integrate and to connect my team. So we are constantly staying on top of where tech today is taking the world, and how I can leverage it in my business. And so we are always adding tech sweeteners to make things better. I don't rely on tech. I think that tech should be an add-on benefit to make things easier. It shouldn't be the core. The core should be people, business, the plan, strategy, those things. Tech should be just the accelerant that gets you there faster.
Great. So in your 15-year process, did you ever write down your goals or your to-dos in any other way?
Every day. These are my weekly goals, and these are my daily to-dos. So I do that, and I write my annual goals on where I want to go. I even have my 5-year goals, my 1-year goals, and then I plan my week every week. And then from this week planning sheet, I write down what I want to do on a daily basis. I write down the meetings I have, even though it's already in my Google Calendar, fine. But I write down the commit. Like, I have this interview written down. I knew it was going to happen, but it helps me get connected to it and mentally prepare for it by writing it in the morning, that this is what I'm going to do. Then I write just the check-in phone calls I have to make with people during the day. And then I've got the bigger, heavier lift items that I have to do to knock it out. I call it my go, call, do sheet.
Right. Absolutely. So what was the best advice that you ever received?
It really involved, it depends on the moment, it depends on the subject matter. Probably my dad when I was a kid, as I think about it. He said, son, you'll do okay working for other people, but you're never going to get rich. I think it was after my dad had the option to buy the company he worked for. He worked for a steel manufacturer in Baltimore. And that company built the aquarium, the steel skeleton for the aquarium. They built all kinds of stuff in downtown. They were part of the rebirth of downtown Baltimore, his company was. And he had the option to buy the company. He actually worked his way up to being president of the company. And the owner put it up for sale, and my dad could have bought it and didn't. I think that he probably regretted that all the way up to the day he died, because it made him beholden to other people and that. So that's probably overall the best advice. And I'm not saying entrepreneurship is the only way to freedom, but it is a much harder road. But it can be very fulfilling, and it gives you ownership of your time, which if you work for other people, you will never have that. And you will always get as small of a slice of the pie as they think that you will not quit for getting, meaning like they'll compensate you enough to not quit, and they will, a lot of companies do this, right? And the owner will keep as much for themselves as they can, rightfully so. They're the owner of the company, it's their company. But the owner of the company will also require your time to be around, and they will call the shots on when you can and can't be there. And unless you're with a modern company that allows you to just work your own hours and everything like that, but they're even going to have parameters around that too. So I firmly believe that being an entrepreneur is very hard, but it creates the most freedom.
So what advice would you give yourself when you just started, knowing what you know now?
I would give myself, I'd give different advice to budding entrepreneurs, but I would give to myself, to Matt Faircloth 15 years ago, I probably didn't stay as focused as I could have. And it created a lot of lessons and created a lot of networking and a lot of successes and wins for me that likely wouldn't have happened had I stayed focused and just stayed in my lane. But I think that I would have achieved the level I'm at now had I stayed more focused earlier in my career. And that. So I would say the advice I would give me is to just stay focused on a strategy and not allow shiny nickel syndrome to pull me off of that.
Right. Absolutely. And knowing what you know now, would you start your own business again?
Absolutely.
Right.
all day long.
Good. No regrets then.
Not one.
Awesome. So what was your largest obstacle and how did you overcome it?
Had a ton. I've had a lot of money stolen from me from contractors. I've had partnerships that fell apart that were obstacles. It's all been about, kind of getting around things that there's no way you can take down in a bite-sized chunk. It's always been like, dissolving partnerships or financial money stolen from us or whatever. It's always been around those things. And the way that I've always gotten around it is by staying focused, staying positive, and not quitting.
Would you ever consider being a mentor to others?
I am now. I mentor many people now. I mean, there's only been so many hours I have to do it, but I love mentoring and I love teaching and love creating possibilities for people. Great.
So you're passing it forward.
I try to.
So how do you collaborate with others?
I have my own mastermind groups that I'm in. I try and talk things out with people that I know can offer specific insights for me. So I do my best to connect with people. Like I'm a member of an organization called GoBundance, which is a high net worth mastermind group. So I would say that I just do my best to connect with people that have exposure to things that in specific arenas that I don't.
Right. So you showed us that you do keep daily to-dos, weekly goals, yearly goals. Is that the main way that you stay organized?
Yeah. I mean, and also just the commitment to stay focused and the commitment to have integrity for myself, to do what I say I'm going to do when I'm going to do it. Right. So if I'm like, I'm going to put in a couple of hours today, or I'm going to reply to all these emails I've got in my inbox or whatever. I try not to let myself slip too much on doing what I say I'm going to do to myself. Really, I mean, that's who I'm keeping my word to, is me.
And what advice would you give to anyone on how to be successful?
I think that the biggest key that I have found to success is not quitting. There's plenty of days in entrepreneurship that I have had the desire to quit, especially after having money stolen from me, or after just not sure what I want to do next, or this business has offered me a few exits that I just chose not to take, that I could have just folded up shop and said, you know what, I'm going to go back to work, or I'm going to go work for somebody else, or whatever it is I'm going to do. By me choosing not to quit, I think it's enabled me to shake it off, to dust myself off and try again. And just having that commitment to myself and giving my word to myself that I'm not going to quit has been what I attribute a lot of my success to.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thanks for having me.